Let's talk about what is a old and what is a new formula in the way we do business or what's going on in the outside world. So why are we here today? We're here because obviously you've heard a call. You feel that there's something out there for you to do, something for you to show up, something, contribution for you to make, and really something of you to share with the world that needs to now come forward and come out into the world.
And hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here. I am the host of the Business Growth Architect Show, and I want to welcome you to today's episode where we discuss how to navigate strategy and spirituality to achieve time and financial freedom. Truly successful people have learned how to master both a clear intention and a strategy to execute that in a spiritual practice that will help them to stay in alignment and on purpose. Please enjoy the show and listen to what our guest today has to say about this very topic.
As you probably all have heard in my musings and my writings, that I have been in another very significant disaster, and we lost our home and everything that we own in January in the Palisades fires. I will talk about this a little bit, but what I really want to talk about today is we oftentimes go into these things and life happens, and then we pull back and we get scared and we say, oh my God, is this a sign that I'm not supposed to be doing something? And I want to share with you some of the things that I'm going through and open it for you to interactively communicate with me about what's going on in your life and really talk about together on what's going on in the outside world, which is insane, and what's going on in the inside world and how some of these spiritual practices apply and kind of what we are really seeing here and what is this all about and where are you in this? What's your call? How are you supposed to be showing up? Let's talk about what is a old and what is a new formula in the way we do business or what's going on in the outside world. So why are we here today? We're here because obviously you've heard a call. You feel that there's something out there for you to do, something for you to show up, something, contribution for you to make, and really something of you to share with the world that needs to now come forward and come out into the world. So when we build a business, there is so much to do, and we have so many things that we need to do that we have to find the clients, build the business, come up with a value proposition, design an avatar, establish our value, tell them why we're unique, step into the purpose, be happy, find a good balance. And how many different things are we having that are really part of this process that we are overwhelmed by a lot of times. And so when we look at the spiritual aspect of things, and I have really been going much, much deeper into the spiritual aspects of things, and what you'll find is that when you do go deeper into things in general, these kinds of things do come up, and spirituality becomes to emerge deeper and deeper and deeper, because at the end of the day, we are all connected. Everything is connected. And I'm going to share some examples on how I've seen this really happen specifically since January. Spiritual concepts often are around joy, a meaning, a purpose. How do I step into something that is meaningful? How strong is this call for you? And you could just maybe rate it from a scale 1 to 10 to say, it is super meaningful. This is like super important to me. This is where I'm at. So how much is spirituality really part of what you are doing? Now, all of this happened while I was on a spiritual journey. And I don't think if I had to do this without having had all this preparation and my spiritual practice, I probably would be in really horrible shape. Now, on the flip side of it, what we are being often told is that they're corporate jobs that suck your soul dry, but you make money. So there's this spiritual and creative aspect, and it's commonly assumed if you do that, you're broke, and that you have to go into this soulless corporate thing. You make a ton of money, you trade your time for money, and then somehow magically you make a lot of money, but you're unhappy. So how do we really fix this? Well, we have to create a vibration, which I often refer to now as resonance, where we are bringing people to us on that level, on that frequency, that believe in the same things or similar things that we believe in, or they're attracted to our energy. We have to let go of some of the internet marketing techniques. I think one of the terms that you probably heard 1,000 times is called ethical persuasion, living in the matrix, meaning that all it is about is money. Money is the answer to everything. If you only had money, all your problems would go away, which is completely not true. And somebody said this to me yesterday, and that was a really great way to put it. He says, so people are taking no risks their entire life, and they're trying to get to die as safely as possible. Now, what a mic drop. Well, that's a paradox. So what's my story? My story is I'm original from Germany. I started out as a photographer, and a lot of different things happened all the way until I'm standing here on January 12th in the ruins of everything I've ever built, and I'm looking into an apocalypse. So the important parts of the story really are that life is life. Most stories that I know have trauma, generational trauma, that have things that you had to work through to get to a particular point. And so let's just take a moment really to recognize this in our views. What you need to know is that I left Germany because I need to get away from these two people. And because it was dangerous for me, and I almost didn't survive my childhood, but I did. And then I became a photographer. I became a creative, and I loved it, but I was better at the business side of it. So my job really was to get creative people organized, was producer, photographer, representative. And then eventually I morphed after many, many, many disasters, which have been widely documented in my story, which I don't want to go into today. I finally got to a point where I was able to sell my business. A key point here was that one of my key photographers, Fernando Bengochea. You may have heard this name, or it may sound familiar because Nate Berkus, who is a very famous interior designer, and Fernando Bengochea were a couple at the time, and they were in Asia, and then the tsunami hit, and Fernando vanished, and Nate survived. And my father had died a year before. It was kind of like the lowest point of my life up until this time. And then in 2006, I was able to sell my business to Bill Gates for millions of dollars, and I came out on the other side. So I bought myself a beautiful house. And then I built a business, and things go up and down, not worth anything to report for the purpose of what I want to talk about today. And then in July 2023, my beautiful granddaughter, Kayliana, was born. I left for my trip to Costa Rica. And we got married on January 3rd, and we had this amazing high. We were around people, and we were dancing, and we had this amazing spiritual journey and all these great breakthroughs, and life couldn't be better. My husband and I, we waited for 10 years to get married, and it is not exactly like this was a fast-moving decision, but here we are, and we're finally here, and we're kind of getting married. And then 4 days later, we find out the Palisades are on fire on January 7th. My office burns down first, and then our house burns down on the 8th. I want you to imagine it's like you're in a Tom Cruise movie, right? So this is like the Tom Cruise movie. It's the end of the world apocalypse movie. And you look, and there's nothing. I mean, you already, when you're driving up, there's nothing because everything's burned and all the houses are burned, and there's nothing on the ridges. And then you drive for a mile to your house, and there's nothing. And then you drive on your street, and there's nothing. And then you stand there, and there's nothing. And your brain just kind of can't compute this. And then you go, is this a gift or is this a curse? What happens now? Well, the community stepped in. And if it wasn't for this, I don't think I'd be here. When we were in Costa Rica with our One Heart community, we had such a outpour of love and support that I have never in my life experienced before. Now, this is one of the things I really, really, really want to talk about, is especially if you're in the spiritual world or if you're familiar with some of these concepts, you always think that the world is about you giving, 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 giving. And giving and gratitude are connected, obviously, and you are supposed to give without an expectation of return. That is true. But what people do not tell you, and what I am learning in the most humbling and powerful way there is, you need to learn how to ask, and you need to learn how to receive. And you need to show people who you really, truly are. The impact, and I'm getting totally emotional here, the impact that's had on me has changed everything. People I don't know have sent me money, messages, collected toothpaste, fulfilled Amazon wish lists. I didn't even have a hairbrush. I had one pair of long pants and one pair of shoes, and people would come with boxes. I mentor this beautiful woman who runs a climbing gym. She's a mother of 2 small children, and she drove at 8 o'clock at night to drop off a bag of clothes. And she gave me a copy of my own book, Happy Woman, Happy World. And she wrote a little note and she said, "A wise woman once gave me this book. It contains really good advice. You should read it. You need this more than I do now." Where is all of this coming from? How is it possible that this is coming to me? Is it because I'm a victim? I don't think so. There's lots of other people that don't have this experience. So why am I having this experience? And how can we create an experience like this for all of you? Like, what is it that happened here that I had been missing all this time that now we're talking about? So, of course, being the German strategist, I have to formularize it. Well, what else would I be doing? So, if you're talking about unleashing this inner architect of yours, we're going to talk about, well, there's a call, there's a voice, right? I would love to hear from you. Have you heard the call? And how loud is that voice? Because if you hear, I know with absolute certainty you've heard the call and that you've heard the voice. I just want to know how loud it is. The voice, right? You typically first starts with sort of a little bit of a nudge, and then eventually becomes a screamer, and it's really, really loud. It says you got to do something. This isn't working for you. Why do you continue to do this? And we keep ignoring and ignoring. And then the next question is logically to say, well, if this isn't working, if I need to be doing something, where do I start? What makes sense for me? How much courage do I have? How willing am I to lean myself out there? Because then that leads to whatever is the first step. And if you don't take that step, sometimes that step is being taken by the universe for you. Now, I'm not quite sure what this step was that the universe took for me, but I mean, burning everything down to the ashes, that's a letting go extreme version, if you really ask me. Then we look at the outside world and we go, holy smoking mackerel, what's going on with the world? Is everybody gone nuts? It's a little bit crazy out there. Is it even safe right now to do something? Is it a good time? And I will say that specifically in the LGBTQ plus community, in the creative community, in the spiritual communities, and anything that is not sort of the hardcore white male money rules everything world, it's scary and dangerous, right? We'll talk about what universal law is at place here, because I can explain to you what's going on with this. And then the final question is like, can you do this alone? Who can I trust? And then how do I do this with money and time? Because you only have so many different resources available to you. But if you're unleashing this inner architect, these are the questions you should be asking yourself. And these are the questions you may not have answers to, which is why you're here, so that we can go through this. If I break it down into steps and say, how do we build something for you? How do we build a community? How do we build you getting more? How do we have you be on the receiving end of things? Well, first thing is you got to get clear on your why. What is the passion and purpose? And we have to build a business model around it. When I was at the spiritual retreat, and there's these amazing musicians, and I'm sitting there ever so the German strategist mind at work. And I'm thinking to myself, I can have Mowgli play one song. I can make Allah play one song and I'm in a particular space. If somebody has this kind of power to play one song to get me in a particular type of emotion that makes me experience something, that's passion. There's purpose. But without a business model, they're not going to be making any money. That's what I worry about, because I'm like, how can I get these talented people out there and help them to get this message out? Then you need to figure out how to grow this. What's the business model? What will you sell and how will you find clients? Because without clients, you're a hobby or wish. Just because you set up an LLC or a corporation or told two people about it, that's not a business. That's still in the idea phase. You have to figure out, what are we going to be doing? And lead generation pipelines, predictable revenue is not without challenges, because it changes all the time. And then we don't want to know, how do we scale it? So once you've figured out, this is my skill set, this is what I'm good at, here's what people want from me, here's what makes people happy, here's how I can find clients, how can I now put this a bit on steroids and build strategy and systems so I can scale it? And a lot of times strategy and systems, which we talked about, look like a contradiction to the other stuff, but they really are the other part of the infinity sign. It will not work if you only have one piece. You have to have both pieces. And then finally, how do you start? And we start by going into growth architect training, which is the piece I want to talk about now. And that is, how do we build this particular business, right? How do we get to this next piece here? So I'm going to take you through this. And this isn't going to be a hard sales pitch, so you don't need to worry about this. I believe in the attraction model, which I really want to talk about more. But I want to tell you what I'm doing. My job is to help people to build businesses and to get their message out in the world. And the message that I've got in my spiritual journey was for me to really go ahead and not just find clients and then teach them how to run their business, but to also give them everything I've ever created. All my workbooks, all my forms, all my methods, how to facilitate, how to do strategic facilitation, how to teach people how to do mission, vision, and all these kinds of statements. So I have no idea how I'm going to build this yet, but it'll be revealed to me, and we are building it. I want to make sure I talk about this program. It's an 8-week program. In 8 weeks, we build the business model, and we build the minimum viable offer. We build a pitch deck. In 8 weeks, I get people to actually have a business to go out in the world and make money. It is not uncommon that people, when they go through my program, that they're signing clients on the spot because they know what they're talking about. So we are using a formula, the 5-star success blueprint, which I am, as I said, going to also make available for everybody to use for their own clients, is how do we build all of this, right? So we're building this by first figuring out, what is that 5-star success blueprint of yours? Like, what are we doing? What are we building? How do we even outline this? Then we're going to address something that most people absolutely abhor, and it's called sales. Now, if I look at sales as pushing something that I have to convince other people to buy, then I would be hating sales too. But if I truly believe in what my mission is to help other people build businesses, and I'm simply sharing my passion with you, and I encourage you to make a decision, an informed decision for yourself on whether or not this resonates with you or not, then that's not a sale. That's an offer. That's a service that I'm doing. So that's what we do here. It's really powerful. In the week number 3, we're going to talk about the avatar, how to tell your story, how to really utilize the storytelling. And you see me do this a lot because you have to bring things to life for people. You have to use storytelling in the way you reach your clients and how to bring things to life. Otherwise, nobody understands a thing about what you're saying. Then we're going to talk about a super simple business plan. So most people, when you hear the word business plan, they're rolling their eyes and they go freak out. But this is about Just answering simple questions. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? How are you doing this? How are you going to find your clients? What are you going to sell them? Like, very simple. So that way you have a plan. It's a one-page plan, by the way. You can go and follow and go out in the world and start making some money and test and make sure that what you're selling is landing. Then we talk about the offer, because we have to talk about a minimum viable offer. What are you going to sell? So let's say you're a musician and you are playing the guitar and you sing and you write songs. What's the offer here? The offer is not I'm a musician that plays the guitar and writes songs and sings. It has to be something beyond that. It has to be about, when you bring me in, I help your audience to bypass their logical mind and their overthinking and their ADHD, and I help them to experience something so we can unlock a particular feeling that will allow them to receive your message. You see how quickly that changes the meaning of it. So it's about a reframing and how do you position this. Then we talk about accountability and what are we now doing? What are the strategies that we implement? We're doing this, by the way, live together. This is all done in real time. We meet once a week for 2 weeks to go over the main session. We have a community that we have a WhatsApp group that we have. As you go through this, you asking questions, you connecting with your peers, and you have to actually do the work because you're going to get a workbook. And then we're talking about what are the barriers that are coming up, because inevitably something always comes up that's in your way. And then in the final week, guess what? You're going to be pitching. You're going to have a full pitch deck. I give you the deck. I show you how to do it. And you'll be ready to actually pitch. In the last session, what happened is that one of the participants was doing the pitch deck. And then I spoke at Women in Technology Hollywood, where I'm a board member. And I sat next to the Microsoft people. And the woman next to me was the product manager for AI products. And as we're talking about this, and she's asking me what I'm doing, I'm mentioning the example of Mike. And she says, hey, should we throw a couple of our AI engineers and see if we can help him build a language model for nonverbal people? Thank God he had the pitch deck. Because all he had to do is go into the pitch deck, make a couple of changes, and he was ready to send a pitch deck to Microsoft. I mean, how is that? So these opportunities actually do happen. And I want you to think about this on whether or not you're so inclined to look at something like this, if this is something that you feel might help you on this page, and it's growth architecture training. There's lots of testimonials. These are people that are going through. This is Mike that I just spoke about. This, my daughter actually went through this. There's a lot of people that have taken this program and have done really, really, really amazing with it. So if that is something that is interesting to you, we do this very, very easily. So just talk to us. We make the money always work. It is. And I'll talk about the money because the money really is super important to discuss. You have to have an investment into something like this. Otherwise, you're not committed. That's just the way it goes. There is an energetic aspect to money in success that we also have to pay attention to. Free generally is not valued. We have even a 12 months payment plan through, if you want to do this and money's the issue, just reach out. We'll figure out how to do it. I promise you, we'll make it work. Okay, so let's talk about the pieces of when you are now thinking about doing something extraordinary for yourself and stepping into this next level, and you don't know how. Sometimes people say, I'm going to wait until it reveals itself, especially in the spiritual aspect. I pray for the answer and it will come at the right time. That is correct. But if you have ever read the Surrender Experiment, or you understand these principles, how they really work, it means that when something shows up, you need to say yes. Like, you cannot just sit there and pray. Then when something shows up, you need to say yes. And the yes is, you said yes, you're here. So now if this is in front of you, you need to think about what that means for you. Is this supposed to be a yes for you? Like, why are you here? We went out for the first time on the weekend, and I put on my suit. Like, literally, it's the only thing I have to wear that is somewhat fashionable and trendy. Everything else people gave me were like sweatshirts. I ran into a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time, and he says, "What are you up to?" And then I chatted with him, and then he said, "We should talk." That's the yes. So I'm leaning into saying, this is the next thing I need to do. I need to build the trainer model. I need to make my teachings available to other people, not just teaching them how to do this, but also give them the tools that I've created. And he says, call me, we'll figure it out. That's the yes I need to lean into. So you want to always figure out if it's in front of you and this comes up. It's not there for you to run. It's there for you to lean into. The next thing is self-boycott. How good are you in self-boycott? It's not the right time. They first have to figure out how to make the money. And then when I have the money, then I can do that. But I'm going to distract myself with all these other things that are never going to get me to where I really need to go, because I think that if I do things that I'm not passionate about, that are going to be doing something that I have no idea what they're going to accomplish, then somehow I'm going to get there. That, as you can tell, this is absolute nonsense. But people are very good at this. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. The world would be full of happy entrepreneurs. It is not, because you have to overcome your own limited belief system. You have to understand your thought process, your ego, the way our brain has been designed over thousands and thousands of years. It's designed to prevent us from making mistakes. So it just looks at everything from a perspective, am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? If you want to be safe, you just can't ever leave the house. And even if you stay within your house, that may not help you, because your house might burn down, as in my case so adequately demonstrated. The getting ready problem. Oh my God. Can I even say how often I see that? If, then, I will have learned one thing in this apocalypse of mine. You cannot wait. You cannot wait. You have the pearls, wear them. You have the bottle of wine, open it. You have the really cool jacket, the special jacket. Wear it all the time. Your favorite jewelry, use it. Use it, because in my case, it's all gone. But thank God I used the silver and the china on every occasion I could. And I spent the time to set the table. Now, how good do I feel about that? Because at least I used it until I couldn't use it anymore. So there is no there. There is no there to go to. There is no moment in the future. There's only what you have right now. So really step into that. My favorite, negative self-talk, well-meaning people. So you think you can just go, let's say you can just go and be a musician. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to make money as a musician, and how many others there are like you? Well, last time I went on a Pink concert, let me just tell you, she seems to be extremely successful, and she's filling a lot of seats in a concert. What is she doing that others are not doing? So the models already all exist. You just have to believe that that model exists for you, and then we're going to have to do that. Unconscious barriers, limiting belief, I have no money, fears of failure. What if I make a mistake? What if I make a mistake again? That oftentimes happens specifically to people that have made mistakes, or they have the perception of having made mistakes. Stuff goes wrong all the time. But if you have attachment to the mistake, then it'll prohibit you from making a step into the right direction. You want to own and love your mistakes. When I was doing a lot of the outreach, and I want to be super transparent here, I'm sick again. We are now like 2 months ago. Yesterday I got married. Wow. It certainly does not feel like it. You try to do the best you can with what you got. We did the LinkedIn outreach, and there's been bumps in the way of finding the leads, and then people tell me no. What, am I going to be upset that for people that say no? Because the people that say no are people that are not meant to work with me. I can find joy in saying, oh, thank you so much for letting me know. At least I know it is not you, so I can focus on finding the people that are meant to work with me. Isn't that much better? So this like beating yourself up over generational trauma or belief systems and patterns is unfortunately extremely unhelpful. What if? It's already happened. My house already burned down. Everything I own burned down. All my jewelry is gone. I can give my daughter nothing. I have no Mother's Day card. I have no letter from my father. I have no award, no photo, illustration of anybody that's ever worked with me. All my art's all gone. Everything's gone. It's already happened. What are we going to do? And then sometimes what happens is it's really difficult, and sometimes it's okay. But that's just life. But when you don't do anything, the pain increases because a call is a call. That much I can tell you. So what's the difference of success? Like, what makes people successful? And I think about this really all the time, especially in my show, the Business Growth Architect Show. I talk a lot about what makes people successful and what makes people stay stuck in that particular pattern. So some people just figure it out and some people just don't. I find that most of the time when, especially in business where we talk about this, I think the number one mistake is you follow a model that is someone else's one specific model that they've refined, because internet marketing or marketing is designed to divide the market into I do the speaking, I do the book, I do the onstage presentation, I do the online course, I do the funnel hacking, I do the lead generation. They're dividing this market into one thing that they pretend builds on the other thing, so that at the end of the day, you could buy all these things. And they tell you that if that one model that they have, you follow that would work. But it can't work because it's a tactic. It's not a strategy. It's not a business model. So you can't take one tactic and say, I'm using this one tactic, and boom, somehow everything magically works out. It just does not work that way. You have to have the business model first. Without that, you sound like everybody else. You design your model before you build the business. That's the way to do it. And it has to be your model based upon your criteria, how you operate, what you believe, and how much time you want to put into this, what matters to you, not me. What do you care on what I like or not like? This is about you. This is about how do we get you there. If you are a mother of 2 small children, I'm not going to put you in a business model that makes you travel 100 days a year as a speaker. What kind of model would that be? That's ridiculous. And still I see it happen over and over again. Oh, the sacrifices we make for some point in the future. No. You don't have time, energy for that. What's yours is yours and it's already here. But you do need a business model that is yours, and you need to know who your clients are. You need to have a value proposition. You need to have a minimum viable offer, and then you need to have the passion to actually do that. So what about you? Where are you in all of this? And I'd love to hear it from you in the comments. Is what's resonating? Is there like something that you've heard where you go, that's making me think? I'd really love for you to give me a little bit of a feedback here and tell me if there's something where you go, I disagree, I agree, or I didn't think about that. It helps me also to fine tune this. The more you step into your purpose, the more spirituality you find. The more you look into science, the more spirituality you find. The clearer vision and deeper your desire, the more success is possible. But you need a strategy to execute. Spiritually and strategy, this is how it works together. Spiritually, it's very woo-woo, supposedly. But it means that if you use spirituality, you can really tap into passion. Like when I watched Hamilton, and you just feel that energy and that vibe, the music and the power. And this is a guy that couldn't get placed in musical theaters because he was too out of a character. So he wrote his own musical and he became ridiculously successful. It exists. The passion and the purpose, if you are a creative and you are spiritually inclined, you have something that other people that are doing the MBA and the by the book, they don't have that. You have something that is much more superior to tag and tap into than most other people do. But people think strategy is boring and rigid, but you still need to find a problem somebody else is willing to pay for it, or an emotion somebody wants to have that does something for them, that takes them out of a particular place. And then these concepts have to be incorporated into your business model. It doesn't work any other way. The spiritual laws say if you have a desire, you must lean into it because it is already available for you. You cannot perceive a desire unless the ability is already in existence for you to get it. So your question is never can I, but always how can I? That is why in a moment like this, where I've really been taken to a place that I did not think I was ever going to be again in my life, I know there has to be a gift because I understand the principles that rule the universe. There has to be a gift. I don't ask, is there one? I ask, where is it? Because if I did not believe this in a situation like this, I'd be so screwed. So you must believe that if what you desire, and it doesn't have to be business, it can be love, it can be connection, intimacy, the greatest sex of your life, whatever it is that you desire, children, family, impact, power, money, vacations, things, homes, all of these things, if you can perceive them, are available to you. So that's the shift in understanding spirituality. That's a shift between spirituality and strategy on how these two connect. If you are in that deep, 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 deep connected purpose, you will always vibrate on that level to say, I am attracting to me the beauty, the people, the connections. And if it's not working, then something's off in the model and we need to go back and we need to adjust it a little bit. It has to make sense. It has to make sense to you because at the end of the day, we're selling a service. And then what happens is we're on this call. This sounds good. This feels good. It's powerful. I mean, I definitely feel the energy in the room. I hope you feel it too. I work a lot with intuition and a lot of the messages I'll really literally pull down. I don't over practice this. It's not scripted in the sense I give myself, an outline, but I'm feeling sort of what's happening with you, and I do my best to take this energy into how I talk about it to make these principles clearer for you to understand, because they're principles at work. They're learnable. This is not secrets. This is all very obvious. But then procrastination happens, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because if you're an entrepreneur, you may very, very much have ADD because you're suckers for great ideas. There's one. There's one. There's one. And then you get into these 1,000 different things in there. The key is to say, what are you here for at this time? How do we take your experience, your expertise, even though it may look completely unrelated to what you're feeling called to do, and you tie that into that? That is my gift. I do that better because I can see how the things that made you connect on a level of relatability to a group of people that you're probably here to serve. But that's my skill set. That's why I do this, because I want to help people to do that. So whatever happens after this is for you. And then we prioritize what matters most. It's your call. It is your decision. I am not here to convince you. My job is to get you to the intersection. Your job is to make the decision. We always figure out the money. Money has to be a pain point in this. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. You are required, the universe, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, asks you how badly do you want it. And that requires a commitment. With no commitment, there are no results. Because then it doesn't matter. This must matter. It's almost like it has to hurt. That's how much it has to matter to you. It must work. And if you put money down, the pressure is even more intense. And that's what it's designed for. It's a good thing. I told you I was going to explain to you sort of what's going on in the outside world and what's going on the other side. So there's a law called the law of polarity. And it says, if it exists on one side, the opposite must exist. So you can only see black because there's white. You can only define gray because there's black and white. You can only understand night because there's day. So what's happening right now in the outside world is that the pendulum swing is violently swinging from one side to the other. It is so insane. Literally insane. That you'd be best off not to even listen to it because it'll make you crazy because it doesn't even make any sense. It's like, who talks like this? Who acts like this? But if you look at this from the spiritual law of polarity, you see that if there is such a anger, hostility on the one side, what must be possible on the other side right now? And that is what we're going to be focusing on. Now it becomes very interesting. So if this energy is so wild out here, the energy must be so wild out here. But this is the spiritual part of it. This is the love. This is the fear. This is the love. So if the love has the same kind of intensity, imagine the creation power you must be having right now. And this is the mass activation I've been talking about. There has been a mass activation of conscious leaders that have been called to step the heck up because of what's going on over there. If that is you, you cannot wait. We have 2 years. That's the number I've been told, 2 years. We have 2 years to get ready, to get our stuff in order, to get organized, to get our message out, to get ourselves in position, because this is going to explode in some shape, form, or another. And for everybody else, they're going to need people like you and me to be there and say, no worries. It's all good. We got you covered. Be prepared for this. Solutions will come from the middle because the only agreeable thing is a compromise. There is no compromise right now. So honestly, it's best to just shut up right now, do your thing, get ready. And when this whole thing blows over, you need to be there. And then the self-sabotage pattern. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Tomorrow, I'm tired. I don't know what's going on. I tried it before, it didn't work. We all have a particular point where we stop. And that would be my next question to you is, where do you stop usually? How far do you go? Why don't you go all the way? Why do you go only to this point? What is it at this point that the attachment is? That's the true growth, is to move past this moment. Like I literally thought I had it all figured out. I cannot believe that at 60, I just start all over again. But it has to be a gift. So I am going to find it, and I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm not sure what it is right now. But I do know it's about community building. That is my call because I've seen what the community did to me and for me. My God, that I can even experience this, that I had this opportunity to experience this level of complete helplessness with not even toothpaste, that I could experience that. Wow. So the question you need to ask yourself, or want to ask yourself, or can ask yourself, are very simple. Is it for me? Is there something in here that resonates? Is this the truth for you? Not for anybody else. Is this true for you? Is there something in there where you go, yeah, she's right? That's a yes or no question. And then the second question is be my person. Does this feel like I can trust her? That's also a yes or no question. And we are making this very easy. Let's talk about it. I don't know if this is right for you. It is your decision. But if you are ready, I promise you, I give everything that I have to make that work for you because I know what's at stake. So again, if you want to check out the program, go to growtharchitect.training, go schedule an uncover session. That's really the message for today to talk to you is that I think we've been called to create a tribe, a community of people that believe that people are good, that the world is good, and that we can sustain a balanced life with love, connection, and community, respect for each other, preserving a world for our children's children to live in, and a lot of healing because what's happening is not healthy. So be the solution that you want to see in the world. That's my message for today. Love is infinite. Opportunity is infinite. Business models are infinite. Money is infinite. We can always create more. So that's my message to you. I hope I get to do this with you. And I see you again. And goodbye.
And hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here. I am the host of the Business Growth Architect Show, and I want to welcome you to today's episode where we discuss how to navigate strategy and spirituality to achieve time and financial freedom. Truly successful people have learned how to master both, a clear intention and a strategy to execute that in a spiritual practice that will help them to stay in alignment and on purpose. Please enjoy the show and listen to what our guest today has to say about this very topic.